Hello everyone. Welcome to another live. I hope you can hear me. I think the audio is good. Okay, welcome to another live. Today's live, I will be discussing gaslighting and manipulation in the narcissistic family dynamic, especially when narc parents gaslight their children to justify their abusive behavior. So, if you like watching my videos, please subscribe and hit the like button if you find this useful. And yeah, so I'll be discussing gaslighting in a narcissistic family dynamic, what it looks like, how it makes you feel, and more importantly, how it affects you in your formative years and when you get older. What does it look like? And how you can heal and recover from it. And it's all a matter of changing your perspective, I've noticed. So, what does it look like exactly? Like, if you think back to growing up in a narcissistic family, were there instances where you could have spotted that this was gaslighting and your parents were trying to justify abusive behaviors, saying and doing things that hurt you? Like, for example, your parents could like demean you in public or hurt you or heavily criticize you and say things like, you make me do these things. They could even outright just be physically abusive and try to hurt you. And then they turn around and blame it on you, say, you're the reason why I act so horribly. If only you weren't so, insert whatever insult they threw at you. If only you weren't so dumb. If only you weren't so needy or clingy, I wouldn't treat you like this. That's an example of gaslighting your own children. They will heavily criticize uh, their children and cover it up by saying things like, I only say this because I care about you. I'm sure you've heard of that, right? Um, uh, you're too, I don't know, whatever. You're too this, you're too that. Or you're not good enough at something. I'm only saying this because I care about you. Like, they hide it like they're trying to look out for you. And if you get offended or call them out for it, they will call you too sensitive when you have the right to be hurt because this person just said something extremely hurtful. And this is your parent, right? But the constant gaslighting through childhood, the constant changing of perception and manipulation leads the children to not trusting their own feelings and their own intuition and leaning on their parents to tell them what to think, what to feel, which is very sad because it gets worse as the kids get older, as they want to, exercise their independence and just be more in the world out there with their friends than at home. It kind of gets worse. They put the pressure on to try and force you back into the fold. Very, but this gas a form of gaslighting is horrible because, or gaslighting in general, horrible because it's very crazy. It's crazy making. Makes you feel like what you see and what you experience isn't real because I know my mother just did something hurtful, but she's disguising it as love. She's telling me it's because she loves me. Is that what love means? It changes your perception of how you see the world. And you start seeing abusive behavior as normal, as love. And warps your sense of reality. And you think problematic behavior is okay. And you mistrust your own judgment and you rely on other people to be your eyes instead of trusting your own eyes. And people who've experienced this type of gaslighting from a young age, or gaslighting in general to like extreme extents, makes you feel extremely guilty, right? because everything is your fault. Even in situations when you go out into the world and you're doing something that's unrelated to your family, let's say it's at work or whatever, and something goes wrong and it's not your fault, but you somehow sit there and think that it is my fault. Did I do that? Did I do? Was it? Am I somehow responsible for this? I've experienced this a lot myself, and it's that sort of a gaslighting conditioning, especially if you're a scapegoat in a narcissistic family dynamic, where almost the default is I must have done something wrong. I am the one in the wrong. It's my fault, even before anyone says anything, because that's what you've been trained to do from a child, to just blame yourself and always feel guilty for even nothing at times. And it can take a toll on your mental health. I mean, especially if you were just a child and the people who are supposed to be protecting you are the ones hurting you. At an age where we tend to believe our parents more than anyone else because, we think they know everything. And we fall into these horrible thinking patterns. And you start feeling a lot of shame, feeling like you're not worthy, lowers self esteem, and it carries on into adulthood. You may also lose your identity in the process, right? Because you're relying on your narc parent to tell you who you are, what to think, what to feel, because you can't trust yourself because you over exaggerate and you do this and you do that. And so you lose your identity in the process of this gaslighting. And you may have known growing up that something was off, something was wrong with your family. Things didn't feel quite right, but you couldn't put a finger on it. Until you grew up, maybe you came across these type of content about gaslighting, narcissistic abuse, narcissistic family dynamics, and everything just clicks, and you're like, oh my goodness, that's what that was. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I hope you didn't hear that. So why do narcissistic parents do this? Why do they gaslight their own children? The answer is simple: control. They want to have complete control over their children's perception of reality, and control over their supply. And another very important reason that they do this is they don't want to take any of the blame or accountability for their abusive behaviors. They want to go on, mistreat, abuse their children, and do all these horrible things, but yet come out squeaky clean and say, no, I didn't do anything. I'm a good person. I wouldn't hurt my children. It's not my fault. I was just disciplining her. She's too sensitive. She's too this. She's too that. They essentially see themselves as a good person who's correcting wrong behavior, when in fact they're just being abusive for no reason. And when the child grows up, the signs of gaslighting show up in things like the constant need for validation. Uh, a lot of these children thought that something was wrong with them when they were younger because they were constantly being criticized, and so they internalize that, and they grow up as adults who have a lot of shame and guilt and lowered self-esteem, and just the constant feeling like something is wrong with me, something is wrong with me, walking around with their head hanging low. It's just so disheartening. It really breaks my heart that some people went through something so horrible at a time that was supposed to be carefree and fun, and just they were just supposed to be a child being a child, and they weren't allowed the pleasures of just enjoying life as a kid, and it truly, truly breaks my heart that they grow up to be adults who think that something is wrong with them just because they are who they are. I remember when I was, learning about narcissistic abuse and all of this, I came across a TED talk titled "What if nothing is wrong with you?" And I might do a full video on this, just this phrase, because it really cleared a lot of things up for me. I remember when I was a child growing up, feeling like everything I did, because I was heavily criticized for every single thing I did. So that in turn got me thinking that, okay, so maybe something's wrong with me. I'm super weird. I must not be like everyone else because I can't seem to get it right. No matter what I do, I can't seem to get it right. I can't walk right. I can't talk right. I can't think right. Nothing I do, it seems like everything I do is, wrong. But then I came across this and said, what if nothing is wrong with you? What if you snore and that's just fine? That doesn't make you a terrible person who needs to, exit the planet. What if you're too short? So what? And then why is that a bad thing? What if you're too tall? Why is that a bad thing? What if, you speak too fast or you speak too slow? What if you're allergic to this food, allergic to that? You know what I mean? Like those are just little characteristics that make you you and unique and different from everyone else. I mean, the world would be so boring if everyone was exactly the same. We all ate the same stuff, we all talk the same, walk the same, did everything exactly the same. That would be so boring. And I feel like whoever created us, whatever created us, made us all different and unique and took their time really crafting us into these beautiful, amazing beings who are all unique and different, like a fingerprint. Each one is different and unique to you. And so your personality, the things you like, you just say, will be different and unique to you. And that doesn't make you a bad person. That doesn't mean you are horrible. You are fine. You are perfect as you are. And anyone who makes you think otherwise doesn't believe that about themselves and they're just projecting it onto you. Do not attach other people's issues to yourself. Let them have their issues and separate yourself from that. And I think when you really come to realize this, when you get to the realization that truly nothing is wrong with you and you are fine as you are. And so, yeah, that's one of the ways you can really help you recover from any of the effects of gaslighting. I mean, healing is definitely key. You need to really go in deep and change the way you see yourself, the way you see your family. You also always just need to remember that the narcissist is a liar. Your parent or whoever in your life was a narcissist was a liar, and you shouldn't trust their judgment because they have a warped sense of reality. They will shift the blame to either make themselves the victim or the hero, but they never take responsibility or accountability for their own actions, their abusive behavior. They will literally punch someone in the face and say, "He made me do it." How how is that? So always remember that. And also set healthy boundaries as well. Emotional boundaries too. Try your best to not fall into their weird little traps they like to set. And information is key as well. Really read up and learn as much as you can so you can recognize the gaslighting as it's like being flung at you. You can see, oh, okay, she's really trying to pull something. So, you can dodge it accordingly. And Grey Rock will also be your best friend. Really just give them no response. Become as boring as possible so they just eventually leave you alone. And lastly, this is very important. You need to realize that people are in charge of their own actions. No one can make someone do something. No one can make someone hurt their child. You know what I mean? So if someone decides that that's the type of person they are and that's what they're going to do, that is all 110% on them and not on you. Never let someone blame you for their own actions. And that is all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this information helpful. Until next time, bye.